Hi everyone, Phil from statisticsmentor.com. This video is about questionnaire data entry. So it's yet another video on questionnaire data entry. So why am I making this? Well, the first video that I made on data entry went down a hit, and many of you asked me loads and loads of questions, which I like, loads and loads of questions. So then I did a follow-up video to that. And then I received some more questions. So this video seeks to address a particular question, and that is, how do you deal with questions with multiple answers? The type of questions where you have that says, tick all boxes that apply. So here's what I'm going to do today in this video. I'm going to show you examples of questions with multiple answers, so that you can kind of recognize it and see whether yourself are using such questions. There are going to be two types, dichotomies and categories. And in this video we're going to focus on dichotomies because these are the type that ask you to tick all boxes that apply. And in that we're going to look at data entry, and we're going to look at how you generate summary statistics. So data entry, frequencies, and then we're going to explain percentage of response versus percentage of cases. And then we're going to go on to this thing of multiple response sets. So why do we use them? How do we create them? And then we deal with questions. Questions which have no ticks in the boxes, but at the same time they are not missing values. Okay, and finally we'll finish off with creating a bar chart. So that's the menu. Okay, so here is an example of a question with multiple response. How should we improve public open spaces in your area? Tick the boxes that apply, and then you've got make it safer, more parks, libraries, street developments, open a local shopping place, more bins, especially near bus stops. And so you can tick one or more of these boxes. Another type of question you would get, which has multiple answers, is this one. List up to 4 ways to improve open spaces in your area. So you see here they've got blanks, and you could here put answer 1, 2, 3, or all 4, or none even. So these two are basically they're the same. It's the same question, but it's the way that the answer's been presented. So here you've got tick boxes for specific things that you've chosen. Here it's completely left open. Something that does not fall in the two categories here is this one here, which one of you YouTube viewers has posted to me. How often do you use your phone in the bedroom, in the bathroom, in the classroom? Neither, sometimes, often. This is actually 3 individual questions, but it's all put into one, so it makes it look like it's one question, but it's actually 3. So this is not the type that we're dealing with here. It's been dealt with in the first video. You just consider them as 3 questions with 3 boxes under each one. So it's just a standard question. Okay. Now in this video we're going to be dealing with this type, tick boxes, because this is enough to get on with. So how do we do data entry when we've got such a question with tick box type of question? What we have to do is we have to create a variable for each answer. In other words, in SPSS, each column represents one of these. So I'll have a column for make it safe, I'll have a column for the second response, more parks, libraries, I'll have another column for shopping place, another column for more bins, especially at bus stops. Okay, because I'm lazy, I'm just gonna pretend we've got 2 here, right, and ignore these 2, just to show you how it works. So make it safer, more parks, street development. Now, because you've watched the first SPSS video data entry, I'll just kind of fast forward here. So what I've done is I've created 2 columns, one for each response. So I've called one safe. Safe is for make it safer, and I just put dev for more parks, libraries, developments, that kind of thing. What we note here is that each of these is a yes or no type question. So I press this, yes or no. So I've coded it so it's yes or no. Alright. Each of these rows represents an answer from a person. So for person 1, say, said ticked yes, ticked safe box and development box. Second person didn't tick the safe box but did tick the development box, and so on. The way I've coded it then is 1. Well, let's go down to variable view. The way I've coded it is for each one I've coded it the same. 0 for no, it did not tick the box or check the box, and 1, yes, the individual checked that box. And that's what you need to do. Do I need to use the number 0 or 1? No, use whatever you like, 3, 4, 10, 12, whatever you like. Okay, well, having got this, although it looks like, so far we've been dealing with questions where each column here will represent one single answer to a question, but because this question has got more than one answer, we're supposing here it's got 2, we need a separate column, right? But what's for SPSS to know that these 2 columns belong to the same question? Well, I'll show you that in a moment. For now, let's generate some descriptive stats. So, wait a minute. Okay, I've done the examples. Now, yes, dichotomy is data entry. So this is called like dichotomy type of response, because for each one you're going to check the box yes or no. So it's a dichotomy. It's one or the other. So it's yes or no. Okay, analyze. We're going to get frequencies. So analyze, what I've done before, descriptive stats, frequencies. I've taken safe and development over to the other side, and we've ticked the check frequencies table because we're just here looking for counts and percentages, because that's what part of what we do in descriptive stats. Check that, and here you go. So you see from our example here, we've got 5 individuals, 5 cases, and you can count, like for safe, it's 1, 2, 3, 4 people checked safe, 1, 2, 3 people checked this development thing. Okay, so if we look at the output here, I'll read it out because I'm not sure it shows very clearly on your video. In the safe box, valid number of cases is 5, missing none, same for development. And then the frequencies, we can see there's got 2 tables, 2 separate tables, one for the safe response and one for the development response. And it says for the safe people, there's a total of 5 responses, which tell us what we've kind of done. We've added up manually. Of the 5, 4 said yes, 1 said no, and then it gives us the frequencies. 80% of the respondents said yes to safety. Okay, and for development, you can see likewise, out of the 5 responses, 3 said yes, 2 said no, and that represents 60% of the cases said yes. Right, you can imagine, so that's fine, but you can imagine that if my question had several answers, like in this example here, 1, 2, 3, 4, but you might have several more. You can see the way that the method I've used to create the frequencies here. It could you could have many tables, one for each answer. So is there a way where we can compile these tables into one and maybe even generate some statistics? The answer is yes, and we can do that using, let me click the right button here, something called multiple response sets. Okay, so I've answered now why would we use them? Could use them because we can compile the frequency tables for each individual response. And now I'm going to explain how do we create them. Alright. bear with me. Alright, here we go. So what we want is we want to create a multiple response set. How do you do that? You go to Analyze, Multiple Response, Define Variable Sets. Okay. Now what I do here, you can see 3 boxes. I've got to define the variables in my set. So the set is the collection of things that belong to my question. i.e. I've got to put all the responses for my particular question into this set. So here there are only 2 of them, so I put them in. Okay. Now you can see here variable as coded as, and then you've got 2 options, dichotomies and categories. Dichotomies is for the type of question where we've got checkboxes. And where's it? And categories, variable code as categories, they're for the type of questions where you've got these blank spaces that you write down an answer. Okay, so that's for another time. So if we go back here, where dichotomies, counted values, what that means by there is what is the code used for the yes response, i.e. that the box has been ticked. Well, remember I said we used 1 to denote yes, i.e. it's been ticked. So let's write the answer 1. Okay, so we've done that. And then next we'll write a name. So this is like the same as before. Name and label is just like under the variable view you have name and label. So let's just say, what should we say? Make it something meaningful. Planning, plan, something short. Plan for the area, something like that. That's for the labels. Then we'll go add, and that now takes over to multiple response set because it's got $sign there and plan. And then I close. Now, when you've closed it, you look at your data view window and nothing seems to have changed. That's because nothing has changed. But inside SPSS, it has created a multiple response set called plan, where both of these things belong. Okay. So how do you know if you've done it? Well, now we want to create the frequencies again. We go under Analyze, Multiple Response Sets. Before, these 2 options, frequencies and crosstabs, were not like, you couldn't click on them because I had not created the defined variable sets, but now I can click on them. We're going to be looking at only at frequencies, but you can see you could do crosstabs as well. Just to say that why we are making these multiple responses is because then we can just kind of compile a table for the frequencies, and also you can do exploratory crosstabs analysis as well if you've got like 2 variables. We're only looking at frequencies today. So click on frequencies. You can see there you go. That is the response set that I've created. And then we take it over. And then we're going to click OK. Alright, now the numbers should be the same as before, and you can see indeed they are. We've got 5 cases. None, missing. But what we're really interested in is looking at this compiled frequencies table. Can you see that? Just 1 table as opposed to 2. Let's just recall, for safety we had 80% of respondents said yes, and for development 60. So where do we see those numbers 80 and 60? Down here. Here, percent of cases. So safe, we have 80%, and development we have 60%. Okay, but you can see in this table we've got some other figures here, like this 57.1% and 42.9%. What is that? So this is what we have here. We've got percent of responses and percent of cases, the 2 different things. Now it's best if I can match this up with the actual data, put this side by side. Okay, so if we look at n first, that's number, safe, it says number of responses, number of ticks for safe is 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yep. Out of all the ticks, there's 3 for development. 1, 2, 3. Okay, that makes a total of 7 ticks. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That 7 is not the same as the number of people, right? So it's just counting the number of ticks. Now, if we do 4 divided by 7, that's going to give us 57.1%. And if we do 3 divided by 7, we're going to get 42.9%. In other words, this percentage here is just looking at, out of all the ticks, the percentage that was ticked for that particular answer. So 57.1 versus 42.9, that means, that's 57 of all the ticks for planning purposes. That was 57%. Slightly more for people going for safety rather than development. Okay, percentage of cases, that's just the same as before. That is out of the number of people. So not out of the number of ticks, it's out of the number of people. So this is saying that out of all the number of people responded, 80% went for safe, 60% went for development. And you can see the percentages here add up to more than 100%, whereas here add up to 100%. You can add up to more than 100% here because each person can tick more than one box. That's the whole point. Okay. Good. Now, if you read most introductory textbooks, this is the way they'd kind of present it. No spanner in the works. But now I'm going to throw some spanners in the works, and then you can kind of see that there's some things to think about. Okay, so just to remind myself what I'm going to do. Dealing with questions with no ticks in the boxes but that are not missing values. Okay, that's reminded me. So let me do this. Let's say that the third person didn't tick any boxes. That's 0 didn't tick a safe box, 0 didn't tick a development box. Okay, let's run the analysis again. Let's run, first of all, the frequencies. Let me pause. Before I do that, I think I just want to summarize what I've just done here. I've shown you 2 ways to get the frequency table. One is the standard way using analyze and frequencies, which that way generates a frequency table for each response for your question. But I said that a neater way, and one that generates a bit more summary statistics, supposing they're of interest to you, is to use to gather the responses up in a multiple response set, and then we can use the frequency command and the multiple response, and that then compiles it in just one table, which is neat, and gives us an additional column here of statistics, if it interests you. Okay. So it doesn't mean that you have to create multiple responses. It's supposed to be it's a convenience to present your data. But of course, if you feel more comfortable, you could just forget about the multiple response and just create the frequency tables and then compile your own table, picking out these percentages. It's up to you. Just giving you an option. Okay, so spanner in the works. Yep. Okay, so we said the third case, nothing. All right, so it didn't tick any boxes. Let's see what happens now if we go analyze, descriptors and frequencies, same as before. Display frequency tables. Let's look at the. Okay, it's 60% for safety, 60% for development. Yeah, because it's out of 5 cases, it's 3 ticks for safety and 3 ticks for development. So in each case, that's 3 out of 5. That's 60%. 3 out of 5, 0.6 or 60%. But let's see what happens when we do the multiple response set. We'd expect a similar answer, wouldn't we? 60 and 60. So frequencies, it's there. So click OK. So 60 and 60. Do we see that? Well, we don't see that. We see 50, oh hang on, we see 75% of cases and 75%. So it's gone up by 15%. Now what the heck's happening there? Because the numbers here do not match the numbers we've just reported up here. Right? And that's a worry initially. And you don't see this in well, it took me a while to find it in any kind of introductory SPSS book. So this is something you have to watch out for. Because this is kind of what's happened here is that what you've got is we've actually got 5 responses, right? But look, it says, in the summary of cases, it says we've got valid 4 and missing 1. What happens is that it's SPSS expects there to be at least 1 tick in the box. If you haven't ticked any, a respondent has not ticked any, it automatically assumes that that person has kind of just missed out that question. So I hope first of all you can see the problem there, what the issue is. So somebody who has not ticked any of these boxes, right? Well, that could be for 2 reasons. One is that that is genuinely missing. The person just didn't respond. Another one is that he might not have thought any of these have applied, right? Let's just suppose that an individual might not have thought that any of these were relevant and so did not tick any of them. In that case, that's not missing. You know, that person consciously chose not to tick any of them. So we're now dealing with the case here, dealing with questions with no ticks in the boxes but that are not missing. Alright? If there was missing, then the statistic reported this would be complete. This would be fine. But I want to deal with so you wouldn't have to do anything. But suppose want to take account of the fact that the thing is not missing. Well, one thing is the design of a question. We should have allowed for another option. Say none of the above applies, or none of the above, and let them tick that, because then we can tell if they did. So if the person did tick none of the above, that would mean that it's not missing. We'd know that. If they didn't tick that, any of these, then we definitely know they just skipped the question or just didn't reply. Okay. So we need to create another column for the sums to add up. None, something like that. Something where it says none did not respond to any of the questions. So we'll just code it. It's like before. 0 for no, did not check the box. 1 for yes, ticked the box. Like with all books, I'm using these words no and yes, but if you want to make it more kind of you could use something which is like did not tick, ticked, or no check, check, something that's more meaningful. Alright. Okay, so I've done that now, and that means I have to recreate my sets for it to take effect. So this plan here that I've created before, I remove that. Now I do it all over again, but this time I've got none as well. Okay, that's all there. Counted as 1. Name, same as before, plan of for area. And then I add it. Okay, and then I close it. Great, and now I'm going to go to analyze, and okay, yeah, I'll go straight away. Response and frequencies. Take this over there. Go OK. And then you see that nothing has changed because I've made a mistake. I made a mistake because, oh god, because I didn't fill in this thing, right? So, first person did not tick that, second person, but this person did tick that, say, because he said, supposing this individual thought that none of the cases apply. There, I had to do that. Now this is going to make more sense. So I'll go again, analyze, multiple response, frequencies, and OK. Great. Can you see now that under percentage of cases, 60%, 60%, which is what we had when we ran analyze frequencies. Analyze and frequencies. okay, analyzing frequencies. Anyway, yes, 60% of the frequencies. Okay, so that's how you solve that problem. Okay, that leaves us one more thing for descriptive stats: bar charts. You might like a nice bar chart here. So in other words, I want a bar chart for safe development, none here. One will be 60, another one will be 60, and then 20%. How do I represent the bar chart? I go to Graphs, go to Legacy Dialogues, go to Bar. Now under Bar here, by default, under here, data in chart R, by default will be set to summaries for groups of cases, but we don't want that. We want summaries for separate variables, because each column is a variable, and we want to do it for each variable. So we want to check that, and then we'll go define. Okay, and then what I want to do, you get a screen looking like this. I want to take all three, and I take it over the bars represent box. That gives me a kind of statistic. By default it's giving me the mean, but I don't want the mean, so I want the percentages. Now you can see you've got a whole load of things that you could do for statistics here. I want percentages, and this is where you've got to listen up. Percentages. Right, the way I've coded the thing is 1 that they check the box and 0 otherwise. Okay, and to calculate the percentages that tick the box, I need to know the number of ones that have been checked. So I'm looking in the middle here. I've got a choice here of percentage above a certain number, percentage below. So I'm counting the percentage above 0, because I'm counting the number of ones, because I've only got the number for each response of 0 and 1. Okay, so percentage above, and then put 0 here, because 0 is no, did not check, while 1 is checked. If you use different numbers, so long as you've understood what I've said, you'll be able to kind of change this number accordingly. Then I'm going to go continue. Then I'm going to go OK. And I'm going to bring up the graph. And here you go. Kind of make this fit. There you go. So safe 60%, development 60%, non approximately 20%. And if you do that and tidy it up, your supervisor would be probably pleased. Okay, so I have covered now. I've pretty much done it. So now you know what a question with multiple answers is, and you can tell the difference between one that's a dichotomies type and one that's categories type. And in this video we focused on dichotomies just because I think that's the one that you guys are more likely to use, and so we've covered a whole load of issues there. The final question I'll point out is that the kind of analysis we've done here is for summary stats. Alright, does that, and some of you might be thinking, well, can I do more than summary stats with them? Can I do regression with them, for example? Can I do other things? The answer is yes. Doesn't mean the kind of the multi-response, by creating multi-response, we're limited only to, you can see under here, doing frequencies, which I've shown you, and that's good for if you've got variables and you want to look at them one by one. We could do crosstabs, which I haven't shown you, but that's I have made a video on that before. Crosstabs. But this crosstabs will not give you the Pearson's correlation. It's just purely for kind of summary statistics, just calculating percentages. Okay, so it's very limited. It's very limited. Right. No doubt there'll be things that you'll pick up on and ask me questions, but remember, I don't ask, because of time, I don't answer questions individually, but if there's enough people answering the same type of question, asking the same question, I'll eventually get round to it. Okay, hope that has been useful. Thanks for watching.